Hi everyone, I'm Gardner Goldsmith, and you might be familiar with my work for MRC-TV, or you might be one of my old students out there in the hinterlands. And if so, you might know that part of my background is lecturing on political economics and philosophy. Well, the Media Research Center recognizes that this time in our history is crucial to know key principles and spread that knowledge. So, this is part one of a multi-part MRC Liberty course, letting you take powerful contemporary stories and derive key political and economic wisdom from them. Now, each part will be made for different formats, so you can collect and share Instagram posts, you can collect short-form Facebook videos, or you can check out these long-form documentaries. Plus, there'll be added materials like articles and even brief, enjoyable quizzes and conversation starters to further your learning and help you spread the wisdom. It's a crucial time to take your learning and spread it to others so that we can win debates and win others to the time-tested principles of freedom. Okay, let's open with two major hot-button topics and an ancient specter, as Sean Connery might say. Those are Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and Karl Marx. Now, it's on record that the official Black Lives Matter organization was founded by Marxists.
We actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists. We are super versed on sort of ideological theories.
Likewise, Antifa, supposedly a liberation movement fighting fascism, began as a Marxist socialist revolutionary organization formed in Stalin's USSR to infiltrate Nazi Germany. Not to win people over to freedom in any way, but to draw the German National Socialists, Nazis, to the international socialist communist cause of the Soviet Marxists. The organizations are currently coddled by the pop media, and according to recent polls, nearly 50% of American millennials support making the United States a so-called socialist nation. And 70% of that same generation would consider voting for a socialist political candidate. Meanwhile, only 16% could define socialism, and many young so-called rebels are so staggeringly ignorant of what Marxism, communism, and the numerous forms of collectivism are. Fully 23% of Americans between 21 and 29 see Soviet tyrant Joseph Stalin as a hero. That's Stalin, the man who continued Lenin's original Marxist plans and exterminated an estimated 20 million people in the name of communism collectivism. So it's angering and it's frustrating to see this kind of ignorance, absolutely. But the situation actually gives us the opportunity to ask ourselves timely questions and help us change other people's minds. Now it is incumbent on us to know who was Karl Marx and what evidence is there that he actually was a towering hypocrite. If someone were to ask us, what is Marxism? Could we answer? And could we explain to a millennial how Marxism, socialism, fascism, and cultural Marxism are all part of that voodoo curse called collectivism? Let's start with Karl Marx. In addition to his iconic beard and his Masonic photo poses, we know that Karl Marx was born May 5th, 1818, into a wealthy family living in Trier, Germany. Though ethnically Jewish, Marx appears to have disliked Judaism and Christianity as much as he disliked personal hygiene. And it looks like he was a Mount Olympus-sized hypocrite in many other ways. For example, one of the 10 planks of his 1848 Communist Manifesto vociferously demands the abolition of inheritance. Yet old Karl was very eager to get his hands on his own inheritance. Writer Chris Talgo explains. Marx's father died in 1838, leaving a substantial sum of money to his wife, Henrietta, Karl's mother. According to Marx biographer Nathaniel Weil, quote, by the time the estate was settled in 1841, Henrietta Marx had already advanced her son $1,111 on his inheritance. This apparently being over and above substantial gifts of cash from, quote, your mother who loves you, end quote. Yet this was not good enough. Indeed, Marx pressed the matter and his desire for more of his inheritance. A bitter family feud erupted, with Karl demanding increasingly more money, even as his sisters and mother pleaded with him to provide for himself. After all, Karl was 23 years old. At this point, Marx's 5 sisters began to view him quite negatively. His closest and favorite sister, Sophie, even told him, quote, that it was undignified and irresponsible of him to count on living the life of a perpetual parasite, end quote. How amazingly apt. It's a shame contemporary Marxists didn't get Sophie's memo. And Talgo adds this. Enraged, Marx wrote to his friend Arnold Ruge, quote, my family, in spite of their wealth, put obstacles in my way which place me, for the moment, in the most straitened circumstances, end quote. He even went on to accuse his own mother of, quote, skullduggery, end quote, because she refused to give him more money after his father died. Ah, yes, then came this charming note Marx sent to his pal and UK financier, Friedrich Engels. In 1861, Marx's frustrations with his mother withholding his inheritance boiled over. He sent a scathing letter to Engels, which read, quote, I got a reply from my old lady yesterday. Nothing but affectionate talk, but no cash. She also told me what I have known for a long time, that she is 75 years old and feels many of the infirmities of age. Okay. And finally, there's Marx's self-absorbed cold message upon learning of his mother's death in 1863. 2 hours ago, a telegram came that my mother is dead. Destiny demanded one of us from this house. I myself already stood with one foot in the grave. Under present conditions, I am more needed than the old woman. Yikes. So Marx wanted his inheritance, but didn't want you to be able to pass on gifts to your loved ones. Indeed, in the Communist Manifesto, he called for state seizure of all inheritances. Except, of course, for his. Then there's Marx's racism, which his aforementioned editor and friend Engels shared. As Jared Stepman writes for the National Interest, in an 1887 letter, Engels wrote that blacks were closer to, quote, the animal kingdom, end quote, than the rest of humanity, in a reference to his mixed-race son-in-law. And Marx himself spouted similar racist sentiments. In a letter to Engels, Marx wrote of Ferdinand Lassalle, a contemporary socialist of his day, quote, it is now completely clear to me that he, as is proved by his cranial formation and his hair, descends from the Negroes who had joined Moses' exodus from Egypt, assuming that his mother or grandmother on the paternal side had not interbred with the Now this union of Judaism and Germanism with a basic Negro substance must produce a peculiar product. How lovely. Indeed, Marx was virulently racist, and although he was ethnically Jewish, he held and expressed a profound dislike for Jews. Marx had ugly things to say about various other races too, and despite being ethnically Jewish, said that the, quote, worldly religion, end quote, of Jews was, quote, huckstering, end quote. Holy smoke! And that's just the start. Ironically, or perhaps not so ironically, given the hypocritical nature of communism and collectivism, Marx excoriated, quote, capitalists, end quote, for not paying workers what they deserved, yet he died owing lenders vast sums of money. Only 11 people attended his funeral. And he derided bourgeois selfishness, yet he neglected his own children, broke his marriage vows, and had an affair that resulted in an illegitimate child whom he also didn't fully support. Marx claimed to be fighting for equality, yet he openly praised patriarchal relationships in his Communist Manifesto, something about which contemporary left feminists seem ignorant or unwilling to discuss. In both Das Kapital, Volume 1 in 1867, and the Communist Manifesto, Marx excoriated factory owners and cried foul over factory labor. Yet, between 1850 and 1860, most of Marx's income came from payments offered to him by Engels's father's Manchester, UK textile mill called Ehrman and Engels. Indeed, Marx's entire existence appears to mimic that of many contemporary leftists. He constantly cried of unfairness and derided capitalists, even as he squandered wealth given to him thanks to capitalism, and he acted irresponsibly and tirelessly employed class envy to centralize political power and make it do what he wanted. Yet, Marx's envy-based philosophy seems perennially popular with many people. How can this possibly be? Well, next time, we will go deeper into Marxism. We'll explore how he used envy as a weapon, and we'll get more technical by looking at the Communist Manifesto itself. And eventually, we'll see how it has visited death to millions and threatens the constitutional system of the United States right now. I hope you like what we're creating. This new endeavor is designed for you, and I hope you'll link through to the official site and sign on. You'll get special access to all the new videos, you'll get the fun quizzes you can take anytime, and you'll get special ideas to share with friends at this crucial time to gain in wisdom. It's all free. I hope you'll get in there and enjoy it.